Hi, welcome to another episode of the 100% Joy series. Today I think you're going to find my conversation really interesting, maybe intriguing, or you'll find it as some sort of revelation. So I watched this series. I don't know how many of you saw it. I think it was in 2020, The Duke of Hastings. Yeah, that Duke that so many people had a crush on, including me.
I've never been a man that much enjoyed flirting, or chatting, or indeed talking at all with Daphne. Miss Bridgerton. Conversation has always been easy. Her laughter brings me joy. To meet a beautiful woman is one thing, but to meet your best friend in the
Yes. Okay, sorry, it wasn't titled The Duke of Hastings, it was titled The Bridgertons. But we had the Duke of Hastings. See, I liked him so much, I'm even calling the series Duke of Hastings. Anyway, so we had this story about the Duke who, okay, so it was set in 19th century England. When it came out on Netflix at first, I didn't really think I was going to enjoy watching that series, even though I love epic movies, but I didn't think I would enjoy something set in the 19th century in England. But funny enough, less than 10 minutes into the first episode, I was glued to it. And you know, it had the setting of a time in England where young people were married off through matchmaking, you know, and of course the rich married the rich, and then the poor married the poor, you know, basically. Anyway, so the Duke was this serial bachelor that every girl would die to be with. But the Duke had made up his mind, made a pact with himself never to get married or have children. This was because he had had a terrible experience as a young child, you know, where his father rejected him, and all his life he decided to get back at his father. I would say he made up his mind to make himself unhappy throughout his life, just to get back at his father by not getting married or giving into love or having children. Now, this is a man who had decided to live his life out of resentment and bitterness towards a man who was already dead. But to everybody on the outside who didn't know what his story was, everybody believed, you know what, this guy was just a hard catch, he was hard to get, he was just a serial player, he just wanted to bed women and just move on, he was not interested in settling down with anybody. Now, this description I just did, does it ring a bell? Now, for me, when I watched The Duke of Hastings and all his love, steamy, hot scenes, the only thing that came to mind was this guy is like a modern day Yoruba demon. I'm sure a lot of you who are not Nigerian will be wondering what I mean by Yoruba demon. Anyway, when we come back, I will tell you who a Yoruba demon is or what that term refers to, and then take you through my conversation for today. Don't go away, I'll be right back. So welcome back. Now, before we go on, if you have not subscribed to my channel, I say that all the time, please hit that red button. If you've been seeing that red button and have not hit it, please hit it now. And turn on your notifications so that when, you know, I post a new episode, you'll be the first to know. Okay, that done. Thank you. Let's go on. Okay, so who is a Yoruba demon? Or what does that term imply? So a Yoruba demon is a term used to describe that rake, that charming rake who knows how to use his charms to get ladies into his bed for that one night or maybe a couple of nights of soiree, you know, without any commitment or any future to that relationship. So it's just this person who knows how to walk any female or any damsel. In fact, it doesn't even need to work hard at it because they know the right things to say, the right words to use, the right gestures to carry out, the right cologne to wear. They know the right clothes to put on, the right cars to drive, the right atmosphere to create, the right ambience to create. And the girl is already even falling head over heels, you know. So they know how to get whatever they want. And when they get it, hit the bullseye, they are off to their next prey or next victim or next conquest. So now, this means that a Yoruba demon is just another term for referring to a serial player, a playboy. Yeah, so that's what a Yoruba demon is. Now, we live in a society where we mystify them. we celebrate them. We see this bunch of guys dressed up, looking really good. Probably we know they're heartbreakers, and everybody's hailing them. Oh, they're Yoruba demons. They're Yoruba demons, and it looks like it's cool, But in the actual fact of it, I want us to really look deeply into why a guy would decide that, I don't want to commit. I just want to have fun, play with other people's emotions, and just move on. Now, don't forget that we only give what we have. You can't give what you don't have. So if somebody is dishing out pain, it means that that person is dealing with some pain on the inside that he has not been able to process. Just like the Duke of Hastings, he had been suffering all his life from the pain of being rejected by his father. But the way he managed that pain was by giving pain to other people. You understand? Not wanting to commit, not wanting to love or be loved back, making every other woman miserable because he wouldn't come. I mean, if he was in the modern day, back then when the Duke existed, I want to believe that it was a time when you couldn't just go around sleeping with just anybody. Most times, they just visited whorehouses. But in the present day, guys can get away with it. You can sleep with anybody and just, get away with it. So I guess the Duke would have just been combing through every city, and just having the time of his life. But you see, we celebrate this, we're thinking, these guys are just hard to get, they can't commit. The truth is, it's not because they have so much control over their emotions and they can't commit, it's because they are afraid of committing, or they're afraid of rejection, or they're dealing with some form of childhood trauma, just like the Duke. Now, the Duke had been rejected by his father. Obviously, someone who has gone through rejection in that sense of it, who doesn't understand what rejection is or hasn't seen the flip side of it, will believe that, to protect myself from being rejected by anybody else, I will leave first, or I would not even commit in the first place. So most times, people who are serial players are people who are dealing with either childhood trauma, who have issues with commitment, they can't commit, or they have issues with rejection. So that fear of rejection makes them, kind of try to close up or hold themselves back from actually committing to a relationship as it is. Even the thought of it would scare them. But you see, they have a way of masquerading that by putting on a larger than life attitude around them. So each time you see them, they are either very flamboyant, they're always very good looking, wear the best, outfits, they are fashion trendsetters, with the dark shades and the, fancy, they always stand out. And the sad part is a lot of women are drawn to this kind of guys because of the wanting what I can't have syndrome. That's what I call it. Most times we want what we can't have, and they put on this show like, I can't be held down. So most times people always love a challenge. That's the way the human nature is designed. We always love a challenge. So you want to go for that, person that poses a challenge to you. So which is why they attract a lot of women who just want to go and get their hearts broken or something. In any case, so for me, this is how I see a player, and if we begin to change our perspective to how we view them, then it gives us a chance to find a way to help them or redeem them, or not create the next generation of players, not see them as people to be celebrated or mystified, and then we grow another generation of young guys who think it's better to be that way than actually being responsible enough to commit to relationships and treat women the right way. What are the ways that we can help Yoruba demons or serial players grow into better versions of themselves? And how can we make sure that the next generation, imbibe better values or virtues when it comes to relationships? Welcome back. Okay, so we saw the Duke of Hastings in the Bridgerton play the full life cycle of a Yoruba demon or a player for us. And we saw him start off as this tough, non-committal guy, and he ended up giving in to the love of his life and turning a new leaf and growing into a man who can be committed to a relationship. But that was because Daphne was immune, who was his partner in Bridgerton, was immune to his charms, and she could see through him that there was more to him than the person that was on the outside. He could see a cry for help. And you see, that's the problem. A lot of times when we see players, we see them on the outside. We don't see what is happening on the inside. Like I said, you can't give what you don't have. So most times people give pain because what they have on the inside is pain. So it means that if someone decides that, you know what, I don't want to commit, I just want to jump from one bed to another, it is a cry for help. That person is dealing with something. And if that person can be helped through whatever he's dealing with, whatever it is, whether it's from childhood, whether it's, an experience growing up as a teenager or whatever, if a person is able to get past that experience, it is so possible for that person to grow into a better version of themselves. There are a lot of people who have fallen in love with people who have helped them navigate this tough time in their life, and there are some who haven't, which is why we probably have a lot of men in their prime who still cannot, bring themselves to commit and, to a relationship, not because they can't, but most times it's out of fear of rejection, So we shouldn't be looking at, for me, I don't think that we should look at players as predators. I think they should be seen as victims, because these are people that have gone through experiences that have shaped them into who they have become. I always say that most times we're a product of our environment, and they're a product of whatever experience they have had. It's just that we live in societies where men are taught to internalize their feelings. And most times, because men will always want to hide the pain that they've been through, it is why it shows up in the lifestyles that they choose. Unlike us women who can actually just cry about what we've been through, share it with somebody, find a way to walk through it. Most times, men don't have that opportunity to be vulnerable. I don't even think it's right, but they don't have that opportunity to be vulnerable. So I think that for us to be able to help the Yoruba demons, in quote, we should be able to allow them the opportunity to be vulnerable. They should be able to express how they feel, what they've dealt with. They should be able to, they should be allowed to get in touch with their pain and deal with it, And we shouldn't, celebrate that lifestyle. We should rather empathize with whatever got them to that point where they became those kind of people. And then if we have young sons or young male siblings or young friends, it is important for us to create an accepting environment for them. Most times we think that guys are supposed to be tough. Even as children, we tell them, boys don't cry, stop crying. Boys don't do you. We want them to be tough, we want them to internalize their emotions. We don't want them to process their hurts. We don't want them to process what they're dealing with. And so when you grow up imploding and keeping everything you're dealing with on the inside, because boys don't cry, boys don't express emotions, boys don't deal with emotions, you end up having people who guard themselves so much that they do not even want to commit to relationships for the fear of being let down or be treated badly or their emotional walls being crumbled, So we need to understand that men are also emotional beings, and they should be allowed to express their emotions. So if you have young male people around you, allow them to express their emotions. It is okay to cry. If they have to cry, allow them cry. It's okay to cry. It's okay for them to express how they feel about something. Because most times when a boy wants to express something that isn't going that way, no, stop it. You're a boy. Don't you know boys don't do this? But we need to stop doing that. We need to start understanding that men have a right, or boys, male children, boys, teenagers, they have a right to be vulnerable. They have a right to express their emotions. We need to start teaching them from a young age that they can express their emotions. When we start doing that and creating an environment for them to know that it is safe for them to be vulnerable, then we start breeding men who will grow up and not be afraid of commitment. For the grown men around us, we need to be able to create the right environment and temperature for them to be able to express their feelings, give them a chance to heal from it, let go of their past and heal from it, so they can begin to embrace better ways of treating women around them. At the end of the day, when we are able to do this, we give the next generation of men a chance to build healthy relationships and be okay with being loving, committal, and caring men. Now, that's all from me today. And I hope that I've given you a new perspective to the Yoruba demon, or the serial player, or the playboy. And I hope that from now on, you don't see them like, oh, they're so mystic, they're so cryptic. No, I have demystified them for you today. So please, if you have anyone around you who is, in that space, or if you have young men around you, create the right atmosphere for them. Feel empathy, create the right atmosphere, and let them express their emotions so that they can walk through whatever issues they're dealing with and be better men. Because our men can be better. Nobody is born bad. We are all a product of our environment. And if only we can practice empathy and be more aware of other people's emotions and give people a chance to evolve through their experiences. That's all from me today. Until next week, bye-bye.